Okay, good morning, councillors and staff and members of the public in the gallery. Thank you for being here today. This first meeting today, of course, is our budget meeting, the budget adoption meeting. And I'd ask everybody to be upstanding whilst Councillor Dixon provides an acknowledgement to the Traditional Custodians. Thank you, Councillor.
Good morning, thank you. And on behalf of Council, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the Sunshine Coast local government area. We recognise that these have always been places of cultural, spiritual, social and economic significance. The traditional custodians' unique values in ancient and enduring cultures deepen and enrich the life of our community. We commit to working in partnership with our traditional custodians and the broader First Nations, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community to support self-determination through economic and community development. Truth-telling is a significant part of our journey. We committed to better understanding the collective history of the Sunshine Coast, experiences of the First Nation people, legacy issues resulting from colonisation are still experienced by traditional custodians and First Nations people. We recognise our shared history and will continue to work in partnership to provide foundation for building a shared future with the Kabi Kabi and the Jinnabara peoples. We wish to pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important role of First Nations people and the roles they continue to play within the Sunshine Coast community. And most importantly, Mr Mayor, together we are all stronger.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Please be seated. Councillors, we have no absentees today. Item 3 is informing of any conflicts of interest. Should councillors who would like to draw, I would like to draw your attention that on the 12th of October 2020, amendments to the Local Government Act 2009 and Local Government Regulation 2012 came into force. These amendments include the new Chapter 5B, which sets out new legislative requirements for dealing with councillors' conflicts of interest in local government matters. These arrangements will apply to how we manage such matters at this meeting. So, if anyone has a prescribed conflict of interest or a declarable conflict of interest, now is the time to raise it.
Mr Mayor and councillors, I've received a notification of a declarable conflict of interest from Councillor Natoli, so I'll pass it to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Mr Mayor and councillors, I, Councillor Joe Natoli, notify that I may have a declarable conflict of interest in matters associated with the University of the Sunshine Coast and 7 Network, insofar as my wife, Rosanna Natoli, is employed as a journalism lecturer at the University of the Sunshine Coast and as a network news presenter for the 7 Network. Further, Rosanna is patron of the Sunshine Coast Oriana Choir, the Maroochydore Orchid Society and the Sunshine Coast Sunshine Troop, and an ambassador for the Budrum Hospital Cindy McKenzie Breast Cancer Program. These groups and charitable organisations may from time to time have dealings with council. In accordance with section 150EN of the Local Government Act 2009, it may be reasonably presumed that a conflict of interest may exist between my wife's employment and community work and the public interest which I seek to represent at all times. I wish to participate in discussions and decisions on matters before council that relate to all of these institutes, businesses, groups and charities, but will not do so until such time as councils consider this declarable conflict of interest at the budget meeting today, 24th of June 2021, and has determined whether I can participate in any discussions or deliberations relating to these groups or organisations.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I too had some concerns about a prescribed conflict of interest. However, further investigation and advice from Craig.
Councillor, would you mind if we just dealt with Councillor
Well,
Natoli's
it
first?
relates to that.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. Further advice says, according to 150 EF, personal interests, ordinary business matters, the local government chapter does not apply in relation to conflict of interest in the matter if the matter C is solely or relates solely to a resolution required for the adoption or amendment of a budget of the local government. So, as we're dealing with only the local government budget today, I would think that it's not necessary for us to vote on that.
I think the, pardon me, Councillor Natoli, this matter's been raised before. Councillor Natoli has subsequently provided the CEO with the necessary documentation, and it needs to be dealt with at the next meeting. And this is that meeting. I appreciate it's a budget adoption meeting, but it's not related to the budget, but more related to the fact that this is the next meeting after which Councillor Natoli has advised the CEO.
All right, thank you. Sorry about the misunderstanding, Mr.
That's all right.
Mayor.
So, councillors, the question we need to answer now is, well, is Councillor Natoli able to participate or not? But, yes, please.
So this is just a determination now, councillors. Councillor Natoli has made those declarations of those interests. So he's looking to participate in anything that comes before council on those topics going forward. So you just need to make a one-off decision now as to whether or not he may or may not participate, should any of those matters be before council to decide or discuss in the future, not related to this budget meeting. So the two options there are for you on the screen. So may participate or may not. If you determine he may participate, we just nominate the reasons why.
Is somebody prepared to move or ask for any more information? Councillor O'Connor.
Question.
Yes.
Question, Mr Mayor, through you. Megan, for clarity, so we're looking at offering up our acceptance of the conflicts now for future meeting items that we don't know anything about, is that right?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would be correct. So it's in the context of the related party of Councillor Natoli's relationship with these various interests. If those interests don't change, you can make a one-off resolution that holds that he may participate in those things. But yes, you are sort of forecasting moving forward. So it's about considering whether or not those groups and charities would have that much interaction with council and a decision that, at a level where council would need to make a decision.
So further to that then, the university does pop up quite a bit from time to time, at least a couple of times a year anyway. So if we vote to support this today in the may participate section, that means that Councillor Joe no longer is required to bring forward a conflict of interest in any form.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would be correct.
That's crazy.
Any other questions? Can I come to you in a moment, Councillor? Maybe if we hear from your colleagues and then you can deal with that. Councillor Babarowski.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I may ask Councillor Natoli, could you just reassure us that your partner has no executive or decision-making role in any of those capacities?
Absolutely, none whatsoever. And also, just if any matter ever came up that related directly that would influence and involve my wife, either from Channel 7 or the university, I would not participate, even though I may have this resolution. But most of the the things that we deal with the universities, whether my wife worked for the university or not, would make no difference because it doesn't relate directly with her work and involvement. But if it ever did, there was a specific program that was involved in journalism or whatever it might be, and I was aware of that, I would actually not participate, being specifically. But generally, most of the funding that we deal at a very high level, it would make no difference in regards to whether she works there or not.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. Councillor Hungerford.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I share Councillor O'Creagh's concern here. If we make that decision, it's a blanket into the future regardless of what the items are, and we don't know what things come up in the future. Particularly if we come to funding for a program or something at the university in the future, having a relative that's an employee indirectly could gain benefit. And the test is whether a friend, associate or relative stands to make a gain or a loss from the decision. And we don't know what they are going to be in the future. So giving a blanket one in the future to cover everything, I think is not a responsible way to go. I have concern with that.
Thank you. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a question of Megan Friend, if I may. Because this is forecasting in the future and at the current situation and the items that have come before Council have not directly related to Councillor Natoli's wife's employment, if an item came forward that was directly related, would any of the other councillors have the opportunity to identify that there may be a conflict? So there is an avenue, if there was a potential conflict in any future items, to have Councillor Natoli not participate in the discussion.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's correct, Councillor Suarez, and there's actually an obligation on councillors that if there's reason to believe, you are obliged to raise that.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Councillor Natoli, can I just clarify in my own mind, and maybe for the benefit of others, clearly your wife's role in USC and Channel 7 is as an employee, so there's remuneration. With the other groups and charities mentioned, is there any remuneration or other benefits associated with any of those roles? That should be clear.
Absolutely. All her work is charitable. There's no obligation whatsoever. She does it, even though she's incredibly busy, she still takes on all these roles because she believes in them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, someone prepared to move either stay or leave? May or may not participate, sorry, is the correct term. Councillor Suarez, you happy to move? Yes. Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor.
I would, Mr Mayor, I would move that Councillor Natoli may participate, and for the reason that the current interest is not considered to be sufficient to undermine the ability of the council to form an impartial view and exercise their vote in the public interest.
Thank you. Councillor Law, you're happy to second? Thank you. No further debate? We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillors Babarowski, Landsberg, Cox, Johnston, Dixon, Suarez, Law, Jamieson. Those opposed? Councillor Hungerford and Councillor O'Prey. The motion's carried and Councillor Natoli can remain. Thank you. We now move to item 4.1, which is the annual operation plan for 2021-22, and I welcome Bill Hadrill to do the presentation. Thank you, Bill.
Good morning, Mr Mayor, councillors. The purpose of this presentation is to seek your endorsement of the operational plan for 2021-22. The Sunshine Coast Council Corporate Plan 2021-25 was adopted at the February ordinary meeting of this year and established a set of priorities for the next 5 years. The goals and pathways of the new corporate plan have now been cascaded into the operational planning process and the budget development process and will seek to take effect from the 1st of July 2021. The operational plan identifies the priority activities for the next 12 months to progress the corporate plan and our vision, Australia's most sustainable region, healthy, smart, creative. Each activity contained within the operational plan is aligned to a corporate plan goal and in doing so ensures a balanced approach to the delivery of the organisation's business. Key elements of the operational plan include a clear line of sight between the corporate plan and the operational plan, ensuring that strategies, plans and strategic priorities listed within the corporate plan are all included within the operational plan itself, ensuring alignment with the budget process and inclusion of council services in doing so recognising the importance of day-to-day service delivery and ensuring and providing an opportunity to highlight service delivery achievements during the course of the year, including updates on larger projects and initiatives. The Sunshine Coast Council operational plan for 2021-22 has been prepared in parallel with Council's annual budget process and satisfies the obligations under the Local Government Regulations 2012. It assigns resources and responsibility for delivery and will form the basis of quarterly progress reporting to Council and our community over the next 12 months. Mr Mayor, Councillors, it is recommended that Council adopt the Sunshine Coast Council Operational Plan 2021-22. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Someone prepared to move? Councillor Hungerford, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Babarowski, would you like to open? Councillor Hungerford.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Section 104, subsection 5 of the Local Government Act 2009 and section 175 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 set the requirements and content for the operational plan. The regulation provides that the operational plan must be consistent with the annual budget, state how a council will progress the implementation of the 5-year corporate plan, state how a council will manage operational risks, and include the annual performance plans for each commercialised business unit where applicable. Note, none were applicable to the Sunshine Coast Council at the time of developing. The operational plan has been prepared and is consistent with these requirements. The operational plan is developed alongside Council's annual budget, which we're about to deal with, which allocates resources for key activities, projects and core service delivery. Each activity included in the operational plan is aligned with one of the 5 strategic goals and a pathway that frame Council's strategic directions articulated within the corporate plan. The Corporate Plan 2021-25 and Operational Plan 21-22 include a strong focus on core services that Council delivers to the community. Progress reports on the delivery of the operational plan are presented to Council and made publicly available quarterly and reported in our annual ordinary meetings. This is core business and is structured on the budget. It gives clear direction on how we deliver those programs through the year. And I'll put this to you. It's a very necessary part and required under the Local Government Act, but it also gives strength to delivering those services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Any other speakers? Councillor Babarowski.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I thought it important just to use the opportunity to, commend the presentation of the operational plan. I mean, look, in the end, this is a very important communication back to our community about what we do. Over the next 12 months, it's detailed in tremendous clarity, and I think it reminds people that rather than, look, we're never going to dispel the roads, rates and rubbish, and that's only 2 services, but this actually tells them that there's 70 operational areas and 31 outputs out underneath them. So it at a glance should get the community to understand with confidence what it is that the budget allocates over the next 12 months. And I think that's a very good thing. And well done to the team for presenting it so well. Very important internal document, but its most important function is to communicate to the community what it is we're going to do with their rates, funding for the next 12 months. And I think it's a job well done.
Thank you, Councillor Babarowski. No further speakers. You don't need to close. Councillor Hungerford. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Bill, very much. This comes out once a year, councillors. Hey? Councillors, I'm now going to make a presentation before we put the vote for the adoption of the budget to the chamber. So, councillors, this morning I'm pleased to speak to the proposed council budget for the 2021-22 financial year. This is the 10th budget that I've had the honour to present as the Mayor of our Sunshine Coast. Regrettably, it's the second year when our budget has been delivered in the midst of a global pandemic. And whilst it's been both reassuring and uplifting to see signs of local recovery as we all seek to find our new normal, the reality is that many in our community, for many in our community, the personal toll of the pandemic on so many fronts has really been unquantifiable. And as we welcome the energy and activity returning around us, in our suburbs, in our local businesses, we must never lose sight of how this pandemic has impacted so many people in so many ways. Our community strategy has the vision that together we thrive, and that is terribly, terribly important at the moment. It reflects a sentiment widely expressed across our community. Our collective efforts through the pandemic have served to bring into a sharp focus the authenticity of that aspiration when it comes to our communities here on the Sunshine Coast. I've always said the foundation of our community strategy is built on the efficacy of human dignity, the foundational concept that all people hold a special value that's tied solely to their humanity. No matter who we are, where we're from, what relationships we might have, or what challenges we may face, for our community to thrive, we must work together, welcome others, embrace difference, and be vigilant when it comes to the well-being of all of our fellow citizens. In essence, that is what we, as the elected representatives of our community, have done in formulating the budget before us today. While it may not seem so, it is so much more than columns of numbers and words which appear in these documents. What it provides for each of us and for our council are the tools that enable us to fulfil our role as guardians of the well-being of our community, and in essence uphold the foundational principle that I mentioned a moment ago, and that is the efficacy of human dignity. At the heart of our $816 million budget for 21-22 is a focus on creating a safer, secure future for all in our community. Moving through the pandemic, I think it's fair to say each of us has felt a deep sense of responsibility associated with keeping our residents safe and providing a pathway for economic and community recovery that is impactful, responsive, and most importantly, fit for purpose. Now, that is no small task, but we're fortunate to be well equipped to rise to this challenge, and we've done so before, and we'll do it again. Our region has faced challenging times before, albeit probably not on the same scale as the pandemic, from devastating natural disasters and economic shocks like the global financial crisis. When we entered the pandemic last year, our council did so in a strong budget position, which included access to a $5 million disaster rehabilitation reserve that we had had the foresight to set aside in 2015. That gave us the ability to respond when we needed to and give every ratepayer a one-off $35 COVID-19 rebate last year to offset the increase that we adopted in the general rate at that time. This budget will continue our efforts to provide the right response to our region at this challenging time. We've developed a considered budget which focuses on support, safety, and local recovery. To this end, there will be no increase to the minimum general rate, which will benefit the majority of our ratepayers. All pensioners will benefit from a 14% increase in their pensioner concession rate. Sole homeowners on full pensions will receive a $262 concession, an increase of $32. Those on part pensions will also benefit, with their concession increasing to between $74 and $205, depending on whether they own the property solely or jointly. There will be no increases in the majority of our levies, with the exception of the environment levy, where we are proposing a $4 increase for each rateable property. There will be and 100% of the environment levy increase will be allocated to enhancing the region's response to invasive and destructive weeds, which I'll talk about more shortly. To account for the increased contractor expenses, the cost to collect a standard 240-litre domestic wheelie bin will increase by $7.70, from $309.10 to $316.80. and we will continue our unwavering commitment to supporting the region's economy from the impacts of COVID-19 by investing $268 million in job-creating local infrastructure projects, along with increasing our spend on frontline services for our community. Councillors, our Capital Works program is one of the largest of any council in South East Queensland after Brisbane, and exceeds that of any of our neighbours, including Moreton Bay to our south. Because we know how intrinsically important our capital program is on so many fronts. From improving the livability of our community and affording better access for our residents to facilities and services, to supporting local suppliers and contractors and keeping money circulating through our regional economy. All of these decisions we've taken in recognition of the needs of our community across the board, and in the knowledge that in the context of the pandemic, we're not out of the woods yet. You only have to see the recent interstate lockdowns, transmission alerts, and our own experience earlier this month to understand the vulnerability of the recovery process. Which is why governments must operate from a strong and financially sustainable footing. And it is why I'm pleased that this year our council will return to a positive operating result and post a forecast $18.8 million surplus for the 2021-22 year. In recent weeks, in commenting on both the federal and state budgets, I've made the point that all levels of government had to do the hard yards during the pandemic in activating economic response to keep communities safe and economies afloat. As a result, operating deficits become a responsibility we all need to shoulder, as our council did last year. What is important, however, is returning the budget to surplus as quickly as possible in order to continue to invest in productive infrastructure and pay down debt. Our council will return to surplus this year with no reduction in services to our community. We will continue to deliver for our community the essential services they require while reinforcing the foundations of our region's recovery. And through our efforts, build confidence across the region that will not only recover, but be even stronger than before. Our council is proud of its track record of standing shoulder to shoulder with our community when times are tough. The community told us loud and clear during the Community Satisfaction Survey that we should maintain our strength in disaster management. And we've listened because we take this responsibility for keeping our community safe very seriously. To this end, the budget will re-establish the $5 million Disaster Rehabilitation Reserve, which will be set aside to aid our recovery from a possible future major disaster. Having this capacity last year to assist our community when it needed the assistance most was pivotal. So we've taken steps to ensure we restore our reserve capability as quickly as possible. We've also placed an added priority on frontline council services, which are valued so highly by our community. In this budget, we'll increase our investment in on-the-ground services, such as maintaining parks and gardens, community facilities, sporting precincts, and providing health and wellbeing programs, all of which will support more people more often. The re-establishment of the $5 million Disaster Rehabilitation Reserve and the increase in funding for on-the-ground services will be funded not by increasing rates, but from discontinuing the 5% on-time rates payment discount. The estimated cost to council of maintaining the on-time payment discount is approximately $10 million per year, and that is increasing. Yet, it's not universally accessed by all of our ratepayers. In discontinuing the on-time payment discount, we are increasing our services to our community and restoring our disaster reserve capacity whilst avoiding an across-the-board increase in the general rate. Council remains committed, however, to assisting ratepayers who cannot pay their rates in full by the due date and will be continuing to offer payment arrangements. Quite simply, anyone experiencing financial hardship only needs to contact Council before their rates are due, to discuss options for payment by instalment over a 6-month period without interest being charged. Being responsive to the circumstances of individual ratepayers who are most in need of assistance has become a hallmark of our approach to rating and is one we continue to embrace. Pardon me. This year our council is again looking both to the needs of our community now and to the needs of our region in the future as we balance our investment in our environment, our community and our economy. Councillors, I know you will join me in acknowledging the work of our community organisations over the last year. I've always said they are the backbone of communities across the region, and it's impossible to place a value on the work they do in all our communities, which is why it's so important that we look to help these organisations when they're most at risk of being unable to assist community members. Fortunately, Council's solid financial footing allows us to do just that. A further $2.9 million will be invested in grants to community groups in 21-22, including $1.6 million through the Community Grants Program to help organisations deliver projects and events benefiting many residents right across the Sunshine Coast. Within this allocation, Council will also commit $1 million to community partnerships with organisations such as Coast Guards, Chambers of Commerce, regional museums, community halls and neighbourhood centres. Our support for the services that our community values runs much deeper, however. This year, $54 million will be allocated for council galleries, community facilities, libraries and lifeguard services. Within this allocation, $400,000 will be committed to progress the design of a new library and community centre in Sippy Downs. Another $1.9 million will go towards the continuation of the Caloundra Centre activation project and design of the new Caloundra District Library. Our libraries are important community facilities with 685,000 people visiting one of Council's 8 branches and 2 mobile libraries every year. More than 2.2 million items were loaned out last year, so our commitments will continue to benefit many people right across our community. We also know our residents love to come together at important times of the year, and that has proved a significant challenge for communities everywhere during 2020. With the easing of some of the public health directions and the ability to now host events under COVID safe plans, we are responding to what matters to our community by increasing the investment in the festive season program to $900,000. This program includes Christmas, New Year and Australia Day events, and we will now be providing an opportunity for community groups delivering well-established festive events to apply for multi-year funding. Council also recognises the health, well-being and social benefits that accrue to our residents, young and old, across the Sunshine Coast from participating in sport and active recreation. So this continues to be a high priority for our budget as well. Just over $12.5 million will be allocated towards a number of exciting projects across the region, including $5 million to progress the first stage of the Honey Farm Road Sport and Recreation Precinct at Merredin Plains, $1.1 million to design and construct the District Recreation Park, Forest Park West in the Sippy Downs Town Centre, $1 million to complete the upgrade and commissioning of the Nambour Splash Park, $750,000 to design and construct the coastal pathway from Dicky Beach Park to Sir Leslie Wilson Park at Dicky Beach. $575,000 has been set aside for car park upgrades at the Malula Valley Sports Complex. $550,000 for Stage 1 detailed design for the Kawana Aquatic Centre. $300,000 towards improving football facilities right across the coast. $100,000 to renew playground equipment and the shelter at Newell Park, Biwa. And $60,000 to renew the Dick Catholic Park basketball court in Yamundi. Just to name a few. Our heritage, the arts and culture also play an important part in the social fabric of our region and will continue to receive attention in this budget. For example, our council will be investing more than $832,000 into the Caloundra Regional Gallery so it can continue to provide exciting exhibitions and programming as a regional hub of the Sunshine Coast art scene. The Heritage Levy will remain at $13 per household and raise $1.9 million to continue to support a wide range of initiatives to promote our region's heritage stories and assets. This includes new research into regional stories and exploring options for sharing our heritage through digital initiatives. The Heritage Levy also helps to conserve our region's heritage assets, including the State Heritage listed Bankford House and its nationally significant collection. It will also support our region's community museums and heritage organisations through grants, practical workshops, professional development, community programs, collaborative marketing and events. The Heritage Levy will also continue to support a wide range of cultural heritage projects developed in collaboration with the Kabi Kabi, Unibara and descendants of Australian South Sea Islanders. Connecting our communities and making it easy to get around, whether it be for work, to shops, to access facilities and services or simply to visit friends and family, is an integral part of our transport levy. The transport levy will not be increased this year, remaining at $44 and forecast to generate approximately $6.5 million. This funding will be directed towards numerous projects, including finalising options analysis for the Sunshine Coast Mass Transit Project, implementing the 5-year Travel Change Behaviour Program, improving safe walk-up and cycle opportunities at selected bus stops, supporting and monitoring the new trial Ride Score Active Skills program at selected schools, supporting the council link services for eligible persons travelling to their nearest centre, continued FlexiLink services, and maintaining the Kenilworth Community Transport Service. Pardon me. Councillors, as you know, I regularly say that confidence is the greatest gift any government can give their constituency. Never before has it been more incumbent on us to bring confidence back to the lives of our residents, our local businesses, our industries, and those people who are looking for work and opportunity. We know there's never been a more important time for all of us to shop, trade and visit locally. Our council will continue to play its part in this regard by supporting local businesses through our procurement policy and capital works program. We've maintained a stronger preference for local businesses where possible through our procurement arrangements and having spent $241 million with local suppliers in the current financial year to June 1. As I mentioned earlier, our $268 million capital works program will deliver better infrastructure and facilities for our residents right across the region. At the same time, it provides an important pipeline for local trades and other supply chain businesses, which helps to keep local people employed on our Sunshine Coast. In fact, our modelling forecasts that the $268 million capital program will generate an economic multiplier benefit of over $400 million for our regional economy and support more than 1,300 jobs. By investing in our infrastructure as well as maintaining our community assets, we protect local jobs while supporting our community's needs and those of local businesses. A significant component of our capital program remains, as always, focused on our investment in the local road network and traffic management facilities. Some of our key projects in this budget, which are dispersed across the region, include $24.6 million for the Mooloolaba Transport Corridor upgrade, funding partnership with the federal government through its Urban Congestion Fund, $13 million to construct a new multi-deck car park in the Maroochydore City Centre, $5.7 million to continue the sealing of council's gravel roads, including Zagreski Road at Yandina Creek, Oyster Bank Road, Bly and Citrus Road, Palm Woods, $23.3 million to reseal and rehabilitate Council's sealed road network, including Old Gippy Road and the Glasshouse Mountains, plus many, many more projects. My fellow councillors, we have also made it a priority to support our local businesses and industry as they get back on their feet and build back better than before the pandemic. This is consistent with the approach we've followed since we first adopted our Regional Economic Development Strategy in September 2013. And it's the underpinning objective in our Economic Resurgence Plan released in response to the pandemic in June of 2020. Last year, Council provided 3 support packages to help local businesses manage the impacts of COVID-19. In addition to our Capital Works program, this year's budget will continue our support for economic activation initiatives and local support programs, including the Aspire online business-to-business tool, retail activation and place activation programs and initiatives, support for the Sunshine Coast Business Awards program, continuation of the Export Capability Development program to help equip local exporters for new national and global trade opportunities. We'll also deliver an Economic and Business Resilience Expo and a Jobs Expo to connect job seekers to local employers and training opportunities, deliver business planning and growth workshops to our local businesses, as well as provide free online digital and ICT skills. Our support for youth innovation and entrepreneurship will also continue through initiatives like the Sunshine Coast Telstra Innovation Awards, where we celebrated the success and winners last night at Venue 114, and the Big Day In Digital Careers Conference. Councillors, while our budget is focused on creating a safer and secure future, we haven't overlooked our enduring commitment to our environment and our region's natural assets. This budget continues our support for environmental partnerships and grants, education services, resources and other incentives with $35 million allocated to these initiatives. The Environment Levy, which is paid by all ratepayers, will also support the continuation of our programs and services to protect and enhance our valued natural environment. This includes our signature intergenerational legacy associated with managing and growing our conservation estate, which now exceeds 7,000 hectares. As I mentioned earlier, the levy will rise by $4 per household to $80, raising an additional $600,000, which will be allocated to the region's response to weeds and invasive plants. We know if we don't respond proactively to the growth of invasive plant species, our natural plant and animal species will suffer. And our efforts to preserve natural corridors and ecosystems will be jeopardised by weed infestation. The additional investments we are making will enable the establishment of a targeted weed management demonstration programs, new community, industry and other agency partnerships, and focus on exploring and trialling new technology to improve the identification and management of weed species. $2 million will be available to continue to support volunteers and private landholders in caring for our environment through bush care, voluntary conservation agreements, and of course the famed Land for Wildlife program, the largest program of its kind delivered by any local government in Australia. Our council's strong commitment to our region's environment provides a legacy for our community now, as well as for many generations to come. Our environment and conservation programs are the envy of other local governments, and we're investing far more in this important area than many of our other councils. Council recently endorsed our Coastal Hazard Adaptation Strategy, which seeks to ensure the natural and built assets in our coastal zones are resilient to climate change impacts and are used sustainably. This strategy is informing a number of the important projects for our region, including the $1.1 million we're investing this year in the second stage of the Maroochydore Groinfield renewal. Likewise, $380,000 is being invested to renew beach access points across the region. Blue Heart Sunshine Coast, one of our region's game-changer environmental assets, which I launched with the then Environment Minister and Unity Water in July 2019, will receive a further $100,000 to support the identification of climate risks. This will assist us to provide the important flood storage areas and help to build our community's resilience into the future. Councillors, in wrapping up, the budget we are considering today for 21-22 provides the wherewithal to respond to our community's greatest needs. The budget will support pensioners through increased rate concessions, while also increasing spending on frontline services to support our broader community. We're achieving this without an increase in the minimum general rate and with a continuing strong emphasis on fiscal discipline. This budget ensures Council remains in a strong financial position, a record we have continued to enjoy for nearly 10 years. On that, I'm pleased to note our Council has again been assessed by the Queensland Treasury Corporation with a strong financial sustainability rating. That is a product of a responsible and focused approach to managing and forecasting our finances, managing our assets and prioritising the delivery of services to our community in a sustainable way. Councillors, most importantly, this budget is about creating a safer, secure future focused on the needs of our community today, next year and well into the future. Through our collective efforts, we have kept a clear eye on the bottom line and remained disciplined in our decisions. But most importantly, we have prioritised the recovery of our community and our economy in the wake of the greatest challenge the world has faced this century. I congratulate and thank each of you for your input and the many deliberations that have gone into developing this budget. I also want to thank our CEO and CFO, Emma Thomas, and CFO, Michael Costello, and the entire finance team, all of the ELT leadership group, for your assistance and guidance, which has been greatly appreciated, and all the work and patience that's gone into producing this budget. And that includes all of our council staff, who either feed information into the budget or then employ the budget in terms of providing the services necessary to our community. Together, we will achieve much, particularly when we approach the task with clarity, optimism and vigour. No more has this been evident than in some of the significant decisions that this and the last council have made to lay the foundations for a more resilient economy here on our Sunshine Coast. In this, I'm also referring to the decisions that delivered the Sunshine Coast Airport Expansion Project, our international broadband submarine cable network, our solar farm, and our commitment to the development of the Maroochydore City Centre. The impacts of these decisions have better enabled our region to weather the COVID storm as we continue to set our region up for the future by putting these critical building blocks in place. Councillors, our efforts will strengthen our social and economic fabric and enable current and future generations to take full advantage of our healthy, smart and creative region. Councillors, I commend our Council 2021 to 2022 budget to you and our community. And I'll move it on that basis and ask for a seconder. Councillor Babarowski, thank you. I'll just dispense with that. Well, I've had my say. Would anyone else like to make a comment? Councillor Dixon.
Good morning and thank you, Mr Mayor. I thought that was a very well-rounded budget presentation this morning, and there's a lot of positive highlights that have come out of that. If you think about the region, and you don't want to be parochial, it's not just about your local division, it's about the region. I think there's some fantastic things that are happening. Doing some quick figures, waste, we're talking 15 cents a week. So if you think about it, waste has gone up 15 cents a week. I think that's pretty good considering you've got your general waste and recyclables that are picked up. Waste every week, recyclables fortnightly. Fantastic service, probably one of our best services that council delivers because we don't get too many complaints about waste. We do that well. The environment levy, I think this is great. We're actually seeing boots on the ground, some tangible outcomes, 8 cents a week. It's going to cost residents of the region 8 cents, and we're going to hook into some weed issues around the region and actually do something about it. I know Councillor Johnson will probably talk about that, but it's a huge win. Out at Brightwater, we've got a Brightwater estate levy. So anytime I go out to Brightwater, it's one of the best kept areas of the Sunshine Coast, because when it was built, there was a levy put on the residents at the start of the build. $135 a year is the current rate. It's actually gone down about $10 because we've got those economies of scale. People out there are paying about $2.60 a week, and they've got some of the best presentation local areas within their community around. I'd actually like to see that roll out to other communities who may want to take that on. It could be Palmview and Harmony out at Palmview, south of Sippy Downs. So lots of good things there. We've also seen the rural fire charge come off the Harmony and Palmview area because it's actually in the urban footprint and part of the urban scheme. Mr Mayor, you are very forthright and being honest and truthful with the budget, and I appreciate that. One thing that I don't agree with in the budget, it's not usually like me to disagree with anything in the budget, but one thing I raised time and time again was my uncomfortable feeling with us doing away with the 5% early payment discount. I think a lot of people do capitalise on that and appreciate it. Something I still feel uncomfortable with, but you did a good job explaining where the money's going to go. We're topping up the emergency funds for significant events on the Sunshine Coast, $5 million straight into that. We need that disaster fund, and you found a way to do that without putting the general rate up. So I appreciate the tactic there, and it's a very good one for the region. But also, I've been a big winner in this. Whilst it's okay to have a position, you've got to see the highlights and the silver lining. Mr Mayor, you talked about these projects, and I'm glad you did, because it shows that through the Mayor's office you're interested in them too. Some things I've been pushing for some time in Sippy Downs, I'm actually going to see as a reality and see happen in this budget. We're going to spend over $1 million in having a regional district park within the town centre at Sippy Downs. So opposite Sienna and the development precinct, we're going to have a major parkland, and we're not just going to bulldoze it open and have it as open parkland. We're keeping the trees in there. We're going to rehabilitate it. Some of the play elements I've seen, kids will be actually climbing up into trees and getting in the environment, which is a first, hasn't been done. That is going to be done in Sippy Downs. An issue that's been dragging on for too many years at Sippy Downs in Columbia Street and Scholars Drive at a primary school. We've got a $500,000 grant from the federal government to fix a local traffic issue in that area, and we're going to actually deliver that. We're working with the university. That's $500,000. The key for me, Mr Mayor, I've been pushing this for a long time, and I'm so thankful to get the support here today and support from Robin Douglas and Michael Costello and Isaac around the Sippy Downs Library and Community Facility. It's been my #1 project I've pushed for such a long time, and in the budget the officers have found $400,000 to actually get this project to a shovel-ready position. I've seen some of the concept designs we've done, and I know this sounds very parochial, but it's probably the best library and community centre I've ever seen. If I could release the plans today, I would. I'm so chuffed with the designs that I've seen, but the staff want to help me get to a point where we can actually start looking for grants to make this happen, and I'll continue to push that. That is a huge win for Sippy Downs. Mr Mayor, I could talk through another 100 local projects we're going to do, but there is a fair spread right here across Division 6, whether it's Mountain Creek, getting another $100,000 for local footpath upgrades. Mountain Creek, we're going to spend $70,000 in making it safer for kids to get across the road on Karawatha Drive. If I'm going out to Brightwater, we're building the first clubhouse storage area for the Bedina Soccer Club at Brightwater. That's $60 grand. The list just continues to go on. Even recently, the issues around traffic and parking around the university and Columbia Street and Parkville, we're going to spend $100,000 on building car parks to help with that situation. So, Mr Mayor, I just want to speak up today. I've had my issues raised about specific things, but I think all in well, this budget is a good budget and it delivers for the region.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Landsberg.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor, and well spoken, Councillor Christian. I was going to touch on that early payment discount that we've obviously taken off, but it has been taken on by other councils in the region as well, that they've taken it off, and hopefully our residents understand the impact which has been explained by our Mayor. As a new councillor, and it's probably 15 months into the job now, My main priority moving into council was the support of small business as my background. For me, to chair the Economic Resurgence Task Force with my fellow councillor Jason O'Prey, it's been a wonderful opportunity to engage with our business owners on the coast. The money that we do spend on our local businesses, as one of our biggest economic drivers on the coast, $241 million, through our procurement policy, really endorses that money is spent locally as well. And I've enjoyed immensely getting out on some of our jobs and projects that we have in the region, visiting those employees, contractors, and listening to them personally how much it means to be a preferred supplier to the Sunshine Coast Council and how much it's helped their business, their lifestyle and their families. Just touching on our RED strategy that was implemented in 2013, obviously the programs that we endorsed and helped endorse through the Resurgence Task Force team with the Aspire and the online programs for our businesses as well was well received. The feedback, especially in some of the mental health support systems, the Aspire, which the Mayor touched on, the resource exchange business, which I really hope our bigger industries do take up, because it's a wonderful position for us to really move towards that circular economy, which is at forefront of all our minds. The digital upskilling as well with Amazon Web Services was a wonderful facility as well, which was put on. But with the current unemployment rate on the Sunshine Coast at 8.5%, it was only really nudged in April of 2015 to 8.8%. This really promotes us. Really, we're doing the best we can, I can see, as a region to promote growth. I'd just like to touch on the minor capital works programs for Division 2, and just like to obviously thank the officers and taking on board some recommendations that we put through as well, especially the right turn, dedicated right turn signals from Buccleuch into Roderick Street. So they'll be implemented next term. A new clubhouse roof on the Rugby League Club. The new pathway from the Michael Street, which has seen the Michael Street Bridge open down at Pelican Waters. It's really activated that area in Golden Beach as well now. So there'll be a new pathway that will connect Michael at the end all the way up to the childcare centre. So that'll improve that safety for our local residents down there as well. And also, I'd just like to thank as well the officers, the finance team. It's a massive budget, $816 million. The amount of work that goes into this is incredible, and my appreciation for the staff's input into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor O'Prey.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'll support Councillor Terry in that. I'd like to start by congratulating both Michael and Isaac and your entire team. Well done and congratulations, boys. I'm very, very proud. It's probably one of the singular biggest jobs in council, and you've just absolutely delivered. So thank you very much to you and the team, and also the ELT for their contributions, and they're trying to get more money. Good luck. Mr Mayor, I'd like to start by saying I think this budget's for the weeds. On day one or day two, when we were doing the introductions of the new councillors, and I saw Winston Johnston's emotional plea to the council and to the councillors particularly about the disgusting amount of weeds that we have here on the Sunshine Coast, I think that's resonated with me particularly, and particularly the entire council today, that we now can make this a budget for the weeds. Winston, I'm very, very happy, and I'd like to congratulate you on your efforts, and I think it's a job well done, mate. Well done. Mr Mayor, tourism again is heavily supported. We didn't get much of a rap on that in your opening speeches, but I'm here to say that tourism's in good hands yet again, and as is the VSC and also the major events and sports units. That's a big part of the economy for the Sunshine Coast, and I'm very happy to say that yes, tourism, sport and major events will be supported heavily again through the budget. More so too though, and as Councillor Terry mentioned, the support for small business. We're not out of the woods yet. We've still got a lot of programs there in place to help out small businesses and making sure that our mum and dad businesses across the region are well supported every way council can, and we will continue to do that. The parks and gardens, this is something that I'm very excited about. I've made a bit of a mission, if you like it, this year to really implement a lot of shade and a lot of upgrades to our parks and gardens throughout Division 8. And I'm very happy to see there's a lot of work in there across the whole regions for the renewal programs and the maintenance programs for our parks and gardens across the region. That's really the trophy cabinet of the Sunshine Coast Council. When you drive through the region and you look around and people judge how the councils operate, it's usually by the way the roads are and how the parks and gardens look. So I think it's a wonderful thing that we're going to be managing and putting a lot of effort into our maintenance and renewal programs. Mr Mayor, $816 million is a lot of money. I reckon we probably look down the track, and I asked Isaac a while back, and I think he said to me, I asked the question, when are we going to hit $1 billion budget? And he said, oh, probably not while I'm here. He said, probably about 25 years' time. But I can't remember what it was when we first started in council for those guys that started with me in 2012, but I know it was in the early 70s, so we've really escalated, and that this region's really pumping, and more people are coming to town, and it's a really great opportunity for council to deliver so many wonderful things for the people of the Sunshine Coast. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor O'Prey. Councillor Law.
Through you, Mr Mayor, and to the whole team involved in presenting our budget today, congratulations. A couple of points I would just like to focus on from the community portfolio perspective and also Division 10 is the pensioner discount that we've been able to increase by 14% this year for all those eligible pensioners. I believe that we're putting our discounts where they are truly needed by our community, and congratulations that we've been able to achieve that. There's been no CPI rise in that space for many years, and to see it happen now during the times that we're in is to be commended, so thank you for that. A couple of things that we're going to be able to make sure that we implement of processes that we've looked at doing. So our excellence in community engagement will be funded to deliver. We've got sufficient funds to implement our RAP, a really important part of council's work over the coming 12 months, so that we can hopefully go from an innovate RAP to a stretch RAP, perhaps this time next year. And then we've got a traineeship program that we're going to implement for our traditional owners working in the operational environment space. Really important part of not only getting traditional owners involved in our environment, but responding to and recognising the real content of what it is to be truly engaged in a RAP process. So some other matters that we've covered, and I can't go past the budget without talking about gravel roads. So coming into the council, it's been a huge focus. We have well over 500 kilometres of gravel road across the Sunshine Coast, and I'm the fortunate custodian of 180 kilometres of that. The policy we have around our gravel road upgrade program is a good one. It's just been poorly funded since its inception 5-6 years ago. So at last, we've got an increase to our gravel road program. We're going to more than double the budget. Now, it was a small budget to start with, so doubling it, I think, is a fair reflection of the challenge that we have in that space and the role that we'll have over the coming years to make sure that we maintain, sustain and grow that funding over the coming 10 years, not leave it alone and just have it sitting quietly. We need to keep very active in that space. 180 kilometres in the hinterland that I have leadership for, 580 across the whole coast. Well, we've got a lot of kilometres to do, but at least we're going to be able to do a lot more than we've done in the previous years. Very, very important to me and the hinterland, so thank you. And also for the towns that are in the hinterland that have been around since the coast began, Yandina, Umundi, Mapleton, Kenilworth, these are the towns that were the beginnings of the Sunshine Coast. And it's really important that we've been able to increase our placemaking and streetscaping funding in this budget. And I'm very pleased that that means that Umundi will be able, over 2 years, to be able to have a better outcome than we had initially believed, with another 500,000 coming in the future budget, and also that we've been able to get Kenilworth into the future forecasts. Very important for those regional and hinterland towns to be able to get these outcomes. And the final comment I would like to make is around our workplaces for the council. So in September 2016, the first decisions were emerging that there would be a new city hall based in Maroochydore. And over the years, Caloundra has had a real focus and is delivering, and congratulations to Terry and Councillor Terry and everyone involved, to be able to be ready when City Hall opens, that we know exactly what will be happening here in Caloundra. So it is really important, and I'm really pleased that finally we have got some activity that is backed up with $500,000 so that we can do the feasibility study, we can start planning, and we will know what will happen in the central administration precinct that's in Nambour. The original home of Maroochy Shire Council. a lot of uncertainty, and as you've said yourself, Mr. Mayor, it's really important that we demonstrate confidence for our community. So at long last, we've got confidence for the community in Nambour that we know that we have to do something with our precinct, and we're getting on and we're starting to do it. So thank you very much for that. Some really critical, important things for the whole coast, for our community and for Division 10, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also like to extend my congratulations to you on the delivery of an excellent budget. We've worked long and hard. It's been 7 months of continuous meetings about budget matters. Councillors have put hundreds of hours into it actually over the period, and there haven't been a lot of easy decisions. There have been many complex and detailed decisions that have required a lot of input from our financial services, financial officers, and also from all of the ELT. But for the people that are behind them, together, they've probably put in thousands of hours compared to our hundreds of hours. And unless they give us the right information to make the right decisions, then we can't do our job. So I just want to thank everybody and all the ELT if they pass on the thanks of the council for a job well done. There are some outstanding things that we have done this time, and I think what people need to, the public needs to understand, and the ratepayers need to understand that yes, we've got a budget that's $816 million, but of that, only 347,774,000 is rates and levies. So the rest is made up of not so much borrowings, but more other revenues that have come into the council. And I think that's to only pay less than $400,000 in rates and charges, and for the council to be able to deliver $816 million worth of budget is an amazing thing. To go on to what's been touched by a couple of the other councillors in relation to the dropping of the 5% discount, that wasn't an easy decision. That was something that we agonised over long and hard. And what I would like everybody to understand is that the alternative to that, and still to deliver a budget which is going to deliver all the services that are required for the Sunshine Coast, was to put the rates up. Well, we didn't put the rates up, and we made the determination to drop the discount. And when one thinks about it, if you put your money in the bank, you're flat out getting 1/4 or 0.5% return on it. And for us to be giving away 5% discount in the current environment didn't make a lot of sense, essentially. When you go to Unity Water, Telstra, and various other areas where there are charges, they don't give you a discount for early payment. And I think that we had to face up to that, and we made a tough decision. There were a lot of things which I would like to thank my fellow councillors for, and to even officers of the council who supported me when I talked about gravel roads and sealing gravel roads, and also about the weed problem that we have. Yes, we have allocated, and thank you very much, councillors, for supporting me in pushing for that, and for the officers for helping me. Yes, we are looking at spending $600,000 on a special project, a couple of special projects, to learn how to better manage weeds and to educate the public how to better manage weeds and what are weeds. However, I don't want the public thinking that we don't spend any other money on weeds. In actual fact, we're spending around about $10 million a year on weeds, on the weed problem on the Sunshine Coast, from parks to roads to our reserves and areas environmental areas, etc., etc. So we are spending it spending a lot of money on the management and elimination of weeds. Unfortunately, we're fighting a bit of a losing battle. And a lot of that has to do with the environment and the lack of possibly education of the public, because many of the farms where the traditional farmers had maybe 7 or 8 titles on their property, they now are retiring and they're selling their properties, and those 7 or 8 titles that they had under one management is now with 7 or 8 new owners, many of whom don't know even what a weed is.
Do you need an extension, Councillor?
Oh, do you need extensions, do you? I didn't think you had one, Mr Mayor.
Nobody asked. Councillor Dixon, Councillor Hungerford, those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Carry on, Councillor.
Thank you for that privilege. I honestly thought we were dispensing with that today. The other matter in relation to the gravel road program, not only are we, as Councillor Law has mentioned, dealing with gravel roads and starting to move towards sealing a lot more of them, we've also this year allocated funds to do the designs for future works, which previously we haven't been doing. So hopefully we can get, when more federal funding and state funding comes through with COVID-19 grants and stimulus, we'll get more money allocated in those areas. In my division, Division 5, between Conondale in the west, Baldknob and Cromhurst in the south, and along the Bruce Highway from Steve Irwin Way right through to Keel Mountain and west north to Woombye and Woombye West and Montville and Flaxton, there's more than $10 million worth of capital works projects are going to be carried out this year coming in Division 5, and I'm very proud of that, and I thank everybody for helping me to achieve that result. I know it will be greatly appreciated by the community. And finally, I just want to mention that this council, in my opinion, has been an exceptional council from the point of view that we haven't had agendas, we've actually worked together, there's not that rural-urban divide between the councillors anymore, and we're trying to help each other to achieve what is needed in their own areas, and I think that's something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I kind of regret following Winston after that one, but I'll try and keep it a little quicker than that. Look, a lot of the things that the other councillors have already spoken about, I'd like to reiterate, and I think regionally this council has focused on providing essential services and infrastructure assets. We've had that big push of growth with all of the major projects. A lot of them are not finished, they're still progressing, but we've really focused on the essential services and assets that we need to provide across the region. In Division 9, I'd probably like to have a chat to Councillor Dixon down the track. We're having some funding allocated towards the first step in community consultation for a community centre for Peregian Springs community. It's something that, like the Sippy Downs residents, is sorely needed, and I'd like to progress that forward and maybe get some ideas off you, Christian. Road improvements, Councillor Law and Councillor Winston spoke about that. Division 9 has the 4th largest range of unsealed roads in the region, and I'm really thankful for the work that both of those councillors have done in pushing forward for additional funding for this sealing of unsealed roads, and I'm happy to say that through our internal funding and through external grants we'll be sealing some roads in Yandina Creek and Bly. Regionally, we will also be putting a lot of funding actually towards a new material recovery facility at Bly. This is a very important thing to do for our region. It will help us to better sort at the source and try and divert some of that unnecessary recyclables to landfill. We'll also be progressing activities in the Blue Heart, and one project that will be up and coming or we've got funding allocated towards it in this financial year, is a blue carbon pilot project, and I'm really looking forward to working with the team on that. Talked about the weed management. We have 7,000 hectares of conservation estate that the Mayor touched on, and weed management is critical to maintaining those areas going forward. So I'm very supportive of the initiative that you push for, Winston, in terms of working out how we best manage our weeds going forward across the region. I'd also like to thank the staff for having a look at the budget, and not only externally in terms of what we deliver in our services and our infrastructure, but also internally as to where we can make better efficiencies. And I hope going forward that we can make those smart decisions where we can have a more efficient budget internally in the way we deliver our services and provide and build our assets without putting too much pressure on the individuals involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Councillor Babarowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I certainly would like to rise to support this budget. Councillors, I think one of the major themes the Mayor made in his speech was one of the gift of confidence. And that's certainly one that I thought was so important, given that we live in genuinely uncertain times. And that confidence has to be underpinned by real outcomes. And I think this budget really is characterised by a significant investment in capital projects that deliver outcomes on the ground. But I think you also described that we were very aware that we needed to support our community groups and organisations more in this budget as well, and we've done that. And I think we also needed to recognise that even in this environment, other disasters may occur. And as a region, we needed to be prepared. So we've reallocated the $5 million to make sure that we are in a position to respond as a region responsibly and quickly. I'd like to certainly commend the new councillors and the ELT team as well for creating a culture which I think Councillor Winston very well described as one that was focused on the greater good. Look, that's at core our job, is to work out the trade-offs as best we can that deliver the greatest outcomes for the greatest number of people. And that really is something I'm very proud of as a council. I think we are all genuinely committed to that. So, look, I think I'd certainly like to mention one of the projects that I'm particularly passionate about was for Landsborough, the continuation of the investment in the master plan. We have delivered stage one, a placemaking project that has really made a significant difference to one of our great country towns. And there's $180,000 in the Division 1 minor works budget to continue implementing the 15-year master plan. And I hope to be able to deliver more for really what is a transformation of one of our fabulous country towns. So, councillors, I'm very pleased to support this budget. I think it is about confidence and trust, and I hope the community believes that we've delivered a budget for the greater good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Babarowski. If there are no further speakers, I will stand to close. Well, thank you very much, councillors, for your individual contributions here this morning, but more importantly for your contributions as a team in working together over a long period of time to establish this budget for 21-22. I think, as Councillor Johnston indicated, there's been tremendous collaboration between councillors in understanding the various concerns of each divisional representative. There's certainly been a strong focus on a region-wide approach to the budget we're producing, and clearly it requires a fair amount of goodwill from those involved to get to this point. And the fact that around the table we seem to have very strong support for this budget, I'm very grateful for that. So as Mayor of the Sunshine Coast, I'm very proud to be here today presenting the budget on behalf of Council, and I look forward to your solid endorsement when we put the motion to the vote very shortly. Thank you, councillors. On that note, we'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well done, everybody. That brings this meeting to a close. I'll declare the meeting closed at 10:20. And thank you all for your contribution. I think we're recommencing at 11, correct? Yep, 11 o'clock for our ordinary meeting. So thanks very much, everybody.